Welcome everyone, I'm the Body Counter, and this is the second Battlefield 5 weapon idea video. Today I'll be covering the rare category of assault rifles during World War II, as many are led to believe that there is little potential for assault rifle weaponry in the game. As confirmed in the weapons blog post, we're receiving the STG-44, the Volkssturmgewehr, and the M1907 SF as our base game assault rifles. Many of the firearms on this list were experimental, but could still work as viable inclusions to the game. So let's begin. The SUPERLIGHT machine gun. A Japanese automatic rifle with a lot of unique features. Whether it was designed before or during World War II is unknown, it fed 20 rounds by either a detachable magazine or by stripper clips. The curious feature of the weapon was the ability to fit a shield to protect the user while using the bipod, which could work as a specialization option on one side of the upgrade tree. Rate of fire would be a slow 400 rounds per minute, but would require less time to kill, and having a severe recoil while not bipoded would be a great counter to its strengths. The AS-44. A Soviet assault rifle which was one of the more successful Russian assault weapon designs. The AS-44 was made by Alexei Sudayev, who was also the creator of the PPS SMG. In-game, it would work more as a defensive version of the STG-44, having a folding bipod and a 30-round magazine, firing at around 650 to 700 RPM. The way to balance this weapon would be to give it a slower ADS time and a poor hipfire, as the weapon was very heavy, which would go on to inspire the design of the lighter and more reliable AK-47. The ERKKI LILJA M1943, an original Finnish design which was never adopted, but which might have seen some trials during the continuation war with the Soviet Union during World War II. Feeding from 30 to 35 round box magazines and using the 9x40mm LILJA cartridge, it was estimated to have a high fire rate of 750 to 850 rounds per minute. When compared to the Suomi, another Finnish firearm, the ERKKI 43 would have a further damage drop-off and more damage, but a less accurate hipfire. In-game, it would work wonders to rid the eastern front of the Russian PISTOLENGEWEHR. The M2 Carbine. Almost identical to the M1 Carbine, except for one major difference in that the M2 can be selected to fully automatic, and can come equipped with a 30-round magazine while firing at around 750 rounds per minute. Despite this high rate of fire, recoil was manageable, but in Battlefield 5 for balancing reasons, giving the weapon a higher vertical recoil and slightly slower reload than the M1 can keep the Carbine from reaching Berlin before the Russians. The AVS-36. One of the most conflicting weapons in this video statistically, the AVS-36 is a fully automatic rifle which was deemed so unreliable it led to the Russians developing the SVT-40, which wasn't much of an improvement. This Russian rifle fired at around 800 rounds per minute, feeding from only 15 round magazines, a fairly small capacity, but to make up for this it would have the longest damage drop-off range of most of the assault rifles. Horizontal recoil would be very erratic, while vertical recoil would be manageable. All in all, the AVS would be a close-quarters skill cannon in the right Ruski hands. The RIEDER automatic rifle. The fully automatic reincarnation of the Howell automatic from Battlefield 1. The RIEDER is a Lee Enfield conversion which was conceived in South Africa. With a predicted fire rate of 300 rounds per minute, not much would be different between this firearm and the Howell from the previous Battlefield game. It could come with a horizontal foregrip, bipod, and 10 to 20 round magazines. The slow fire rate coupled with the slower ADS time would keep this rifle balanced. The ZK-412, another sleek Czechoslovakian design, and quite an obscure assault rifle. Made by the men who built the incredible ZK-383, the ZK-412 was originally designed for the Waffen-SS following the initial invasion of the Soviet Union, but during its rumoured trials on the Eastern Front, it lacked a primary feature expected by the SS, a hand grip, so the idea was eventually scrapped. Firing at a rate of 500 rounds per minute from 30 round magazines, ADS recoil would be more controllable than the STG-44, hipfire accuracy would be terrible, with the reload being on par with the STG while having a longer empty reload. The BREDA PG. The first ever rifle to use a burst fire mode. The Italian BREDA was a prototype intended for Italian soldiers and to be sold to Costa Rica. In reality, it was only the Costa Rican designs which had the burst fire capability, but this can be cheesed for Battlefield 5. The 4-round burst fire mode would have a fire rate of 600 rounds per minute, with a semi-auto select fire mode for more controllable targeting. Feeding from 20-round magazines, it would have a higher vertical but weaker horizontal recoil to the STG, a better hipfire, and would also serve as quite possibly the only burst fire weapon in Battlefield 5. The PISTOLENGEWEHR 1921. A love child between the MP35, the Luger P08, and Swiss engineering as sweet as their chocolate. The PISTOLENGEWEHR 1921, or the Führer 1921 AR, that's Führer F-U-R-R-E-R, was an experimental firearm engineered in Switzerland by Adolf Führer. I'm not even joking, the designer's name was Adolf Führer, with a lot of interesting characteristics such as a toggle lock mechanism like the PL8 and the Subslider 1906, and feeding 30 rounds of the unique Swiss 7.65 by 35mm caliber, which was a tad weaker than the STG round. With a rate of fire at around 500 rounds per minute, hipfire would be this assault rifle's strong suit, with a somewhat average recoil, but having an awkward reload and cocking animation. The VOLLMER M35. Yet again another experimental weapon, the VOLLMER was Germany's first ever assault rifle design, 4 years before World War II began. The earliest variant of the VOLLMER fired at around 1000 rounds per minute, which will be the version I used for this idea. Not many were produced as the design was deemed as too expensive at the time. Firing at an incredible fire rate, it was limited by a 20 round magazine, making the VOLLMER a German Tommy gun, though I'd imagine it with a further damage drop off than the STG due to the caliber, and being more reliant on aiming down sight than hipfire. The FEDOROV AVTOMAT. The prodigal son returns to Battlefield 5. Quite possibly my favourite firearm ever, the FEDOROV AVTOMAT wasn't used throughout World War II, but during the embarrassing winter war between Russia and Finland. But like Battlefield 1 and Battlefield 5, history can be stretched for this beast to be featured during the German invasion of the USSR. Many of the weapon stats would carry over from Battlefield 1, being an accurate gun both in terms of hipfire and aiming down sight, making up for its lower rate of fire. Though, one thing is certain, no amount of visual customization in Battlefield 5 can outdo the Kerensky skin from Battlefield 1. And that concludes the list of assault rifle ideas for Battlefield 5. Many people and YouTubers seem to think that we'd have a lack of assault rifles for the game, but as long as DICE do their research and hear some of the community's ideas, I bet we can see these bad boys in game in no time. I hope you liked the ideas I covered. Feel free to drop a comment down below what you think or if there's any other AR that I didn't cover. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like to show your support, join my Discord in the description to share in the memes and discussion, subscribe to keep up to date on when I upload next, and as always, keep on fighting.